Welcome back. Well, caregiver burnout has been an issue for quite some time. The pandemic certainly really highlighting the need for supports. Over 50% of caregivers say they're overwhelmed and exhausted, many feeling guilt, anger, and frustration. And of course, without the sufficient supports, this burnout can turn into something even more serious. Christina Aggie is the executive director of AlexisNext. She works with patients and their loved ones, providing support where it's desperately needed. Elisse Hill, also joining us, is the vice president of technology at AlexisNext. Christina, Elisse, thank you both for giving me your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Christina, let's start with you first. Give us a sense of what the situation has been like over the past 20 months now for these caregivers.
Caregiving in itself is difficult at any time, but add dementia and a pandemic to the mix, and you've got a sure recipe for caregiver burnout. It has been really difficult on caregivers because the support systems that they had, because of restrictions and limitations, have caused, situations where they cannot get out there to access these resources, and their loved ones actually are starting to exhibit more responsive behaviors like irritation, anxiety, even to the point of aggression. And this also causes more stress on the caregiver, and their reactions again impact their loved ones. So it's a vicious circle that this pandemic has caused in the lives of caregivers.
Indeed, and when we don't really have no official end to this pandemic, as there are continued challenges that are coming with that. Elisse, what are you seeing in terms of the mental health concern for these caregivers, because they have to be everything and anything, for their loved ones that they're caring for, and as Christina points out, dealing with those fluctuations in emotions, that frustration, but they're often sort of carrying, a larger portion of the bag.
The mental health concerns are very serious. It's very, as Christiana said, it's very hard to be a caregiver in the best of times. But so many caregivers, because they're so focused on their loved ones, forget to focus on themselves, and to also, so that they can provide even better care for their loved ones. So it's definitely a big issue.
When you were talking about supports, Elisse, what is available right now? And is it enough? What's missing?
Sure. So what's available right now, there are support systems out there. There's the Alzheimer's Society, which offers a lot of help for caregivers. In the Central East Lynn here in Toronto, we also have the Gaines Clinic, which provides help for caregivers and people with dementia. But really, it's not enough. The main things that we're really trying to push and focus on is to increase education so that we can help prevent burnout. Because once burnout happens, it's hard to really bring that back. So focusing on mental health throughout the process.
Yeah, and we've also talked about mental health sort of being already or becoming the next healthcare crisis in this country, and that has been sort of a constant conversation. Christina, in what you've experienced, what you've seen, what's the call to action when we talk about more supports? What more specifically are we looking at? And I guess it also comes back down to, and you pointed this out, with them being overwhelmed with trying to deal with their own lives, trying to take care of their loved ones and balance it all. They tend to put their needs last. So what's the call to action to ensure that, when we're looking at mental health, we're looking at it at a much larger scale, not just for the patient, but of course for the family member that's there as their support?
Yes. So I'm going to say that caregivers need to be a little bit selfish, because they have to put self first. Like when you go on an airline, they tell you to put on your own oxygen mask first before helping your loved ones. So caregivers need to take that initiative as well. Look for help, be able, and try not to, try not to push away your friends and family, because then caregivers tend to go into a state of isolation because they want to do everything themselves. Caregivers need to know that they cannot do it all themselves. As well, we need a lot of support from the government. There are resources like Elisse had said, but we need more. We need more respite care beds, not just in long-term care homes, but retirement homes are also available. So the government need to fund more beds. And especially in my experience, I think the biggest impact is from lack of awareness. Dementia should be a household name. It should be a disease that everyone is familiar with, and that we need funding for dementia care education centers that will be actually emphasized around the first point of care, like family doctors. They need to have resources to give to individuals so that as soon as they are diagnosed with that dementia, they can go for the education. Dementia is a very difficult journey, so the more you know about it, the better you'll be able to cope. And I also feel that education should start from as early as elementary school, because dementia is a disease of the family, not just one person. Oftentimes we overlook our children. They need to know how to deal with, grandma or grandpa. And so when you deal with this situation as a family unit, it's a lot easier, because caregiver burnout often causes strains on relationship, which eventually can even break relationships. In my experience, there are family members who in the end don't want anything to do with their loved ones.
Yeah, it is absolutely difficult.
I think, we need to also increase funding for caregiver financial support, because financial challenges is one of the highest trigger for caregiver burnout.
Yeah, certainly. There are a lot of points there, indeed. But I think, as you say there, Christina, it is a family. There needs to be that family education, that knowledge, and that family support. Absolutely, indeed. Christina Eggy, Elisse Hill, it's really good to have you both on the program on what is an extremely important issue here. Thank you both so much for giving me your time today.
Thank you, Angie.
You're very welcome.
Have a good day.
You as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on CTV News Channel. Stay with us. We'll be right back.